When the guys asked me if I would come and say a few words this morning about what they were doing, I was genuinely honored. I think it's that microphone actually. I was genuinely honored because I met Marcos about a year ago. And I remember when I first met him, he told me about what he was doing. And he said, you know, a lot of Greek people, they leave Greece and they come to the UK and they launch these companies and we help them build these companies and network and mentor them outside of Greece and the UK. And I was like, what are you doing that for? Like, that's crazy, man. Like, you should tell these Greek people to go back to Greece and like help this country that is in need, you know? And he was like, no, you don't get it. Like, they can be on the outside, sort of fighting on one front, because I think about a lot about what we do as kind of like resistance fighters, right? And they could be doing what they're doing outside of Greece, and they could be tapping back into Greece, and then you got this dynamic going on where they're both like pushing this country forward. And it took me about a year to figure it out, what you were doing, and then I kind of figured it out. And I thought, actually, that's ingenious, actually. That's a really smart thing, because if you think about it, and I think we're going to see a lot of people who are going to talk about these ideas and these companies and these beliefs that they have. When you think about it, you know, ideas don't have borders. Ideas kind of go everywhere. And it's the people that will bring them to life and bring them to fruition. And it kind of doesn't matter where they are, as long as they retain their ties to where they came from. And I think that's what we're going to kind of explore today. So this is what I want to talk a bit about, helping Greece from the inside out. So why Greece? And why do we need to reload right now? You know, this notion of we have a blank sheet of paper. We can do anything we want. Why not start over as a startup? The mentality and the mindset that we need to take on, which is like, are we doomed? Or, wow, we can do something about this now. And lastly, this notion of opportunity out of crisis. So why would you ever want to do something with Greece? So I work for a company that is driven by data. Every time I present a creative idea, they ask me to show them the data, and I'm like, fuck, you know. So anyway, we're driven by data. This is all fact, all right? This isn't me as a patriot saying Greece rocks and we invented everything and, you know, the world owes us everything. This is fact. This is World Economic Forum data. So Greece ranks number 4. You may have seen some of this stuff, but Greece ranks number 4 in terms of tertiary education, right? People who've gone to university, people who continue to study well past what we call high school in America, right? That's pretty good. So we're an incredibly educated and skilled sort of marketplace to tap into. Now, what do you need to launch a company, especially a startup, you know? You need people who are very, very up to speed in terms of technology. You need scientists, you need engineers. Where do we rank in terms of scientists and engineers? We rank 5th in the world in terms of scientists and engineers. Again, remember, this isn't Steve Vranakis saying we rule. This is the World Economic Forum data, right? So when you're sitting there trying to figure out, can we really do this? Do we have the infrastructure required to do these things? Absolutely. This is something interesting. I added this literally last week. I sent a presentation over and I had to change it because there are all these magazines, a lot of Greek magazines, a lot of sort of Greek diaspora and all these people who are writing about the Greek startup scene. But when people like the New York Times are talking about the Greek startup scene, when people like Time magazine in 2 weeks, in the last 2 weeks, have published things about, you know, Greece, there's something in the water, what's happening, nation getting its mojo back, people are starting to invest, Greece can borrow money again, all these sorts of things, there is momentum, right? Something is happening, right? I talk a lot about, if you've heard some of the other things I talk about, we have an economic crisis, we know that. We know the hardships that it's endured. We know what people are going through and how they're struggling, right? But what that has done to us, which is even worse, is it's taken its toll on our crisis of confidence, right? These sorts of things help us get our confidence back. We have the right, and I threw this in kind of half jokingly, but you know, I come from a world of marketing. And when you're trying to position a product or a service or whatever, you're trying to own a territory, a space in a consumer's mind, all that sort of stuff. And you think, well, like Greece and like technology, and how can we like, you know, make that link? You know, I talk a lot about the Antikythera mechanism, which is a very old little analog, cited as the world's first analog computer, right? That was invented by our people, like, I think it was like something like 1,200 years ago. So when people say to us, like, it doesn't fit, you're like the place where like feta and olives come from, I say, I disagree. And I want to talk a bit about now the people, because I think and a lot of people like yourselves, I think Greece, when you talk about Greece to a lot of people, you kind of get the, you know, and you even get like Greeks talking about Greece outside of Greece, and they shrug their shoulders and they say, I'm Greek, you know. And that to me is quite painful, because I think we need to understand that there's the country, there's the geographic demarcation of a space on a planet, right? And then there are the people who live in the country and outside of the country that define what the country is. And I think we are the people, right? We're not this we have a lovely coastline and we have these islands and all that, but like right now when there is such a negative perception towards the country, I feel and I see that people are still incredibly kind and interested in hearing about what Greeks are doing, like yourselves. So I think, you know, when we talk about the people, and I only chose a couple. There's the taxi beat guys, there's the workable guys, there's all these people. You know, these are people that are Greek, have started out in Greece, who have built companies, and they haven't sold them to small companies. They've sold them to people like Google and Twitter. These are massive achievements. And when I look at, you know, other countries, maybe in Spain or Portugal or Italy, our peer group, I don't know about their equivalents, and I work in technology, so I'm not showing favoritism in Greece, but I just don't see these things happening elsewhere. So there is something happening. And some more examples of some people who are doing what we want to talk about today. Manos, who sat next to me and was telling me about his company. You know, these are people who have headquarters outside of Greece and who are fundamentally tapping into what I said before, the number 4 in the world in terms of educated people, and the number 5 in terms of scientists and engineers. They're already doing this, and they're going to talk to you about how their businesses are thriving by doing this. I think there's something about us, and you watch these films like 300 and all these things, and you kind of laugh them off. But I do think that, like, especially this generation, you know, a lot of you guys are younger than me, and I think I talk a lot about the, and I don't want to be ageist, but a lot about the under 30s who grew up in a very different time, who traveled abroad, who understand a lot more of what's happening in the world, and have a lot more, and I don't want to make generalizations, but are a lot more in touch with the environment and social enterprise and society and giving back. And you look again like these companies like Human Grid and Atenistas and all these things that came out of the crisis, but you look at what people are doing, and this isn't like a fad. People, especially the people of your age and your generation, are saying like, we got to do these things that are good, you know, and that give back and that kind of bring us together, as opposed to how much money can I make off that person, or do you know the sort of the way it used to be. This is really interesting because I think, again, a lot of what I think about is in terms of marketing or engineering, because of the company I work for, and it's all about perspectives and perception. And if you think about it, you know, there are a lot of like people saying we've reached rock bottom, there's nowhere else to go, let's get the hell out of here. And there are other people like yourselves who are saying like we've reached rock bottom, but that means we can kind of do whatever we want now because there's nowhere else to go, right? So do you look at it, as I said, as a glass half full or a glass half empty? And if you have the opportunity to do anything, you got a blank sheet of paper, right? You can start up and you can do what you want. You know, I spoke at this event in Athens last week to startups at the Cosmote Academy. And I was talking to them about how to brand and position themselves so that they can go to the VC community for money. And I said to them, you know, in terms of this whole blank sheet of paper, you know, you have the opportunity to say or do whatever you want to do. So why not do it? You know, when I was starting out, in 1993, I was a young graphic designer, and I remember I had to buy a Mac at the time, an Apple computer, and it cost $10,000 for a computer. My dad had to get a mortgage on his house in Vancouver. This isn't a joke. So I can buy a computer. You can buy a computer for £300 now. Okay, you can work out of a workspace, like a co-working space, for £150 to rent a desk. This isn't a big deal. Do you know what I mean? It's not like it used to be to start a company. You just need ideas, right, and the desire to do these things. So why not start over as a startup nation? And this isn't anything new or shocking. This is just reiterating and reinforcing what we think. You know, I'm preaching to the converted here, and reload an entire country. You know, encourage entrepreneurialism from within and allow startups globally to tap into the new Greece. One of the other projects that I've been involved with is this whole rebranding of Greece, and I've shared it with a few people. I think hopefully they're not just being nice to me, but they're saying it's interesting because it's not an advertising campaign. What I put forward, what I presented to the Prime Minister last December, and that allegedly will be launched next month, was a platform for change, was this notion of Greece relaunching as a startup nation and changing the environment to make it more conducive for business in Greece and allowing people outside of Greece, okay, to tap into that environment. Some of the things that I presented went down incredibly well. Like I said to the government, they said, well, what do you mean, like, not easy to do stuff in Greece? And I was like, well, you know what, like, it takes 15 steps to get a business license in Greece. 15 steps. You got to like go and get like stamp after stamp after stamp, and you got to bring like your grandmother with you, and you got to like do handstands. Do you know what I mean? And it was like, and then you get a business license. I was like, if I were you guys, again, because I speak to them, and I don't have an agenda. Like I have a job that I love. I'm very fortunate. I'm not trying to be a politician. So I say, I'm very frank with these guys. I say, if I were you guys, I would like give business licenses away. The more, like flood the market with business licenses. If you can create an environment of entrepreneurs everywhere in Greece, is that a bad thing? So I said to them, if you've got 15 steps to getting a business license, why don't you take that and give it a radical solution, okay? Take a big problem and give it a radical solution. And this is what the guys at Google X talk about. And I said, why don't you do it in 24 hours online? Proof of identity, proof of address, proof of tax registration, give them a business license. What's the worst that can happen? That they'll pay taxes? Do you know what I mean? So they did that. So it's interesting, like you give them these ideas and they listen, so hopefully they launch this thing. But I think the only reason I'm saying this is not because I want to say that I met the Prime Minister. A lot of these insights came from what you guys are doing and this notion of what we want to do. Create a network. I think this is interesting. It's almost like you need to, you know, I talked about resistance fighters. You need to parachute people into Greece and organize them a bit and create this network, this black book of resources that we can tap into, right? An ecosystem that coexists internally and externally. I think one of the things I'm helping Marcos with is how do we formalize that? How do we make that dynamic a bit more formal, whereby if you do launch a company outside of Greece, if you do launch a startup, where is that hub that you go and you tap into so that we're not all chasing after, does anybody know a JavaScript programmer? Does anybody know a graphic designer? And a new model for a new improved nation. As I said, we have the opportunity to tell a new narrative. Why do we need to do this? Everybody knows this. This seems to fluctuate up and down. I've got 2 kids, right? I want to go back to Greece at some stage. You know, we have a house in Athens, and my wife is there all the time. She's there right now. But this is difficult. Like, you know, I get emotional when I see this. Like, 2/3 of people under 30, like, you know, no future prospects. You know, that's why a lot of you are here. So, like, you know, they talk about them as being the lost generation, which I think is incredibly, like, horrible, I guess, to call the lost generation, because we've created the conditions to make them the lost generation. So how do we flip that? How do we turn them into the next generation and allow them to become everyday entrepreneurs, right? And this is another one, the brain drain. 150,000 of our most talented doctors and engineers have left in the last 2 years, right? And a lot of them are like, forget it. I'm not coming back. I will do my summer holidays there. But again, I think in terms of being counterintuitive, they leave, right? But the ones that are leaving, instead of draining the brain of the country, how do we create the opposite? How do we create a neural network, using the brain analogy? How do we create a neural network that allows these people to organize themselves outside of Greece and within, and tap back into the infrastructure of the country? So in summation, like reimagine, you know, what would it be like if we actually got this thing to work? You know, we have to believe that this thing will work, otherwise we may as well go, right? And to reappraise what it means to be Greek. As I said, it's not defined by geographic boundaries. It's a state of mind, you know? And to reposition a country and tap into its talent. To reload Greece. Thank you very much.